Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Live Natural, Live Well. This is your host, Heather Lounsbury. Thank you so much for joining me today. And my guest, I'm really excited to have her on, is Kris Carr. I'd have to say she is one of my heroes, being a vegetarian and animal activist and also treating people with cancer and other terminally ill diseases. She is an inspiration and powerful, and I can't wait to have her on. So before I bring her on, let me give out the number to call with questions real quick. 347-884-9533. That's 347-884-9533. Let's bring Kris on. Good morning, Kris.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad. We already have someone on hold and ask a question, but I'm going to just let them know I'd rather you introduce yourself really quickly, and then we'll take questions.
You bet.
Okay, so go ahead and let my listeners know a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Kris Carr, and I created a film called Crazy Sexy Cancer and a few books with similar titles. And I'm a cancer survivor who lives with cancer. I've been on this journey since Valentine's Day 2003 when I was diagnosed with a very rare sarcoma with no cure and no treatment. And that was sort of the beginning of my, my wake-up call and my just changing everything about my life. I started with my diet and lifestyle, and it's just continued to grow from there. And a few years ago, I created CrazySexyLife.com because so many people said, I like the way you're living. You're really living like you mean it, which is what I teach. Yeah. And I want to learn how to do that too, so that's my wellness hub for health, spiritual wealth, and happiness.
Great, and thank you for putting that website together, because I know there's some people out there that are craving this information and just don't know where to go, and since you've actually lived it, it makes it so much more real and informative, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, it's easy to put it out there when you don't really have a sense of what's going on, but, walking the talk as we do, as you do, I think is really important for people, because it also it not only makes it more authentic, but also makes people feel like, I can do this. She's just talking about taking care of herself. She's talking about her diet, her lifestyle, sleep, stress, how to reduce it, how to find more joy, how to take fun seriously. I can do all that.
Yeah, it's because I'm sure with you and so many others, once you get that kind of diagnosis, there's this sense of like, oh my God, there's nothing that I can do, and obviously there are, and you're living proof of it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, and I write about that a lot. I write about patient empowerment and what we can do, because though science and medicine is moving so quickly, and it's amazing the things that we've discovered and the advances that we've made, patients still need to participate in their well-being, whether it's because they're dealing with a disease or they just want to stay healthy and avoid the catastrophic healthcare costs that can cripple us and has crippled our country. But being willing to participate, meet your doctor halfway and say, I'm only with that person, a couple times a year for maybe a couple of minutes. What am I going to do with the rest of the time?
Exactly. And I actually, I was at a dinner party a few weeks ago and got into an argument with an oncologist, and we can maybe save that for later in the interview if there's time, but it wasn't a pretty sight, because I actually do work with some oncologists in Los Angeles, and they refer patients to me, but this one was so, anti doing anything but the Western route. It was like, wow, I didn't know that still existed. Because
in a big way. And we should save some time to talk about that, because I think it's a very good point that you'll bring up, and what we need to do is teach patients that doctors don't have all the answers. They have some of them, they have a lot of them, but too often we look at our white coat as an M deity, and we say, well, if this person doesn't want me to, eat a piece of fruit or, get some acupuncture or make green drink, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly frustrating. But before we go into that, let's see what this caller wants to ask you. Good morning.
Sure.
Thanks for calling. Hello. Did you have a question for Kris? Hello. Okay, please call back. We can't hear you. Thanks for calling. Okay. Well, hopefully they'll call back. So let's start with your dietary changes, because I'm a huge advocate of eating the right food. So let's see what changes you made and how you learned to do it the right way.
Sure. Well, like most people, I came from the standard American diet, and I really didn't understand that was contributing to my my disease and to my lack of well-being. And so the first thing that happened when I was told that there was no treatment was I said, well, there's got to be some things that I can control. And I started with diet. And there's a lot of great resources out there. There's certainly a lot of wonderful books on my resource section on Crazy Sexy Life. I started with macrobiotics, and that was wonderful for a certain period of time. And then I went to a more raw alkaline diet where I focused more on balancing my pH. And what's so great about that is that when you understand your pH, you understand how to bring your terrain back into balance, how to clean it up. And the things that are acidic are the things that, affect all of us. And, one of the biggest things that I changed was going from a meat-loving diet to a vegetable-loving diet. And that alone started to clear up a lot of the smaller problems that I was facing on a regular basis, weight issues, problems with constipation and, skin problems and whatnot, high cholesterol, which I had at a very early age, surprisingly. So a plant-based diet is really what I advocate for now, and if you could take anything away from what I teach, it's make juice, not war is my motto. And I juice every single day, so 16 to 32 ounces of green vegetable juice every single day is really the fuel that keeps me at optimum levels with a lot of energy and I think more balance in my life.
That's great. And can you explain, some of my listeners might not know what pH means? If you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, without getting into sciencey about it, because then we'll start to lose listeners, your pH is, I think, one of the keys to optimum health. So the body likes to be in balance. 7.365 is around optimal pH balance. And everything that we consume affects our body's chemistry. And so foods that are more alkaline create more alkalinity in your life, obviously, and create a healthier terrain for your cells. They're rich with alkaline foods and pH balancing foods. They have lots of minerals. They have vitamins. They have oxygen, phytonutrients, things like that. And so acidic foods are foods that are the kind of the category you want to not totally stay away from, because that's impossible, but you want to reduce the amount of acidic foods that you consume so that you can bring your body back into balance and that your cellular function and cellular integrity remains high. So acidic foods are, animal proteins, dairy, sugar, especially white sugar, basically the white stuff, anything that's processed. This puts a lot of stress on the body and also takes it out of balance. So in a nutshell version, that's the kind of practice that I focus on. Is this going to add energy to my body, or is it going to make a withdrawal? Because I think of my being as a bank account. And I know I'm going to make some withdrawals. Occasionally I'm going to have a cup of coffee. Occasionally I'm going to have a glass of red wine. These things are acidic. But am I making more deposits on a regular basis? And that's the key to, I think, a balanced diet and lifestyle, especially for somebody who's going through a healing crisis. So that means more veggies, more of the green drinks, more green smoothies. The fruits that I choose are low glycemic because I don't need the sugar highs, and too much sugar is not going to be good for me all around. Sugar feeds cancer. And so also the processed foods and things like that. So and fake energy drinks, milkshakes, things like that. You know, the thing about acidic foods too is like too much of it creates a lot of mucus in the body, and mucus creates inflammation. You know,
right.
and so you know all of this and then some, but that's how I sort of go about making a menu plan for myself is pH balance, reduce inflammation, not too much sugar, nothing that's going to really burden my body because I'm already dealing with cancer. So why should I be eating food that creates more conflict?
Oh, absolutely. And also, just to make this clear, is that cancer and disease in general thrives on acidity. So if you're eating an acidic diet or mostly acidic diet, you're going to be more prone to any type of illness, not just cancer. So if people listening are having any kind of health issues, then I would highly recommend making some dietary changes and see your symptoms disappear.
So you can see this a lot with arthritis and anything, you know, obviously all these diseases come from inflammation, but you can really see some drastic changes when you start to balance your pH and eat more alkaline foods with things like arthritis. It's one of the quickest solutions.
Oh, absolutely. I try to get both my parents to eat a more alkaline diet because they both have arthritis, but it's an uphill battle.
I know.
Let me see if I can get this caller on the line. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hi. Did you have a question for Kris?
I did, actually. Hi, Kris.
Hi.
I'm really excited to be talking to you today. When is your nutrition book coming out?
Oh, thanks for asking. Well, it just came out of my being. So it's being printed now, and it'll come out in January. I wrote a book called Crazy Sexy Diet, and it's basically all of the tips that I learned navigating this journey, but not just for cancer patients, for anybody who's interested in healthy living.
Mm-hmm. Great. Can't wait to read it.
I can't wait for you to read it, too.
Any other questions?
That's it. Yep.
Oh, thanks so much for calling.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So this is a recipe book?
This is a diet book. There's only a few recipes in it, and it's basically I go through a 21-day cleanse with people, which I also do online on my website. But it really is the diet and lifestyle that we were talking about earlier. It focuses on pH. I talk a lot about animal protein and sugar, and it's the core of what I've learned through my journey. In my first book, I had one chapter about diet, and everybody was like, "I need more, please." So this is finally the book, and then I'll do some cookbooks after that.
Great. And for people who just feel overwhelmed with the idea of making these big dietary changes, do you have any words of wisdom for them? Because I know for me, I stopped eating meat when I was 14, and for me it was like, oh, I'll try it for the summer. You know, that was sort of how I made that transition. And for some people, especially if they're dealing with something as serious with cancer, those changes should probably be made much more quickly. So if you have any words of wisdom for...
I think, the important thing is just to sort of take an internal inventory and say, how badly do I want to change? What's going on? If I'm in a health crisis, then you might be motivated to do more. Certainly if you're not and you just really want to start to upgrade your lifestyle, then dipping your toe in can be fine. But you got to dip your toe in with consistency. So like if you say, I'm going to be a vegetarian a couple of times a month, right? You're not going to feel the changes. You're not really going to feel the difference. If you do that, if you say, I'm going to do it 1 or 2 times a week, like sort of go along the line with the Meatless Monday campaign and then say, that felt great, let me take it a little further, then you're going to start to see some changes. But for me, I always go back to, if you can do anything, start with making a green juice. Start there, and you'll see your energy start to shift. Instead of having that coffee break at 4 o'clock, have a green drink. If you can add more of the vegetables and the healthy, raw, live foods to your life, that's fantastic. So what I try and do is get people to transition from like having no vegetables usually, or very little, to
or frozen.
Yeah, or frozen, or totally killed and overcooked where there's no nutrients left. Then I suggest doing, dipping your toe in with like a 50-50 diet or a 60-40 diet. So 50% of your plate is covered with, salads or lightly steamed greens or lightly sautéed vegetables and, sprouts and things like that. So you're getting the nutrients. And then the other 50% can be some cooked food, but you want to start to upgrade the choices that you make. So better grains, better proteins, better fats, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to lose out on taste when you start to get creative and you get into this stuff and you learn how to make these foods. You can make them as tasty as any food that you grew up with that you think you might miss. But also people aren't always ready to go vegetarian or vegan right away. So what I, again, make better choices, but make sure you're getting that fiber with the meat that you're eating, and make sure you're getting the juices in the smoothies and things like that. Because what we don't want, I'm sure you know this more than anybody, is you don't want somebody to blow it out and then take 15 steps backwards because it was way too much for them to handle.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I try to do with nutritional counseling is I ease people into the lifestyle changes unless they're facing a huge crisis.
Yeah.
Like, say, someone who has 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day, start with slowly cutting back, unless they're the kind of person who's all or nothing, which isn't the case most of the time. But just, it's gradual changes, and they'll last, and you'll see how much better you're feeling if you do it that way, because I think a lot of these extreme diets that are out there, like the diet programs and Atkins and so forth, of course I'm totally against it anyway, but they give you all these strange things to eat and huge restrictions, and it's not realistic.
Totally not realistic.
Yeah. And I wanted to add to that for people who are sort of like, oh my God, I can't give up my meat, at least switching to organic so you're not eating antibiotics and steroids, because that's guaranteed going to make you sick.
Absolutely. Again, like upgrading your choices will make such a huge difference, and also being willing to stretch yourself a little bit, saying I could never live without this particular thing. Guess what? You can. You totally can. You might not have to completely, nix it from your diet and lifestyle, but by saying that, you just created an affirmation. You just said, I can't do something, and there it is. If I took that kind of thinking with cancer and said, well, I'll never be able to live a normal life. I can't possibly live a normal life now. Well, okay, there you go. You've just created that, and that's the way it's going to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Making that emotional decision, because I can tell you from my own personal experience, the idea that I wouldn't be living off of junk food and sodas and animal products pretty much every single meal. that was something that just I wouldn't have imagined for myself. I mean, it's been a long time. I've been eating really healthy, but when I first initiated those changes, I was like, there's no way I'm giving up Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not going to happen. And I haven't had a soda since high school, and but once you make those changes, those foods don't even taste good anymore. Once you revisit them, because a lot of people are like, well, let me see. I used to really love my Haagen-Dazs or whatever the case may be, and it just doesn't taste good anymore.
That's a really good point. I think your palate does reset. And the cleaner you get, the more you are sensitive to salt and sugar and fats, and you can taste when something isn't going to settle right in your body. Yeah,
and just listening to your body is so key. And what do you say to non-believers? Like I'm sure you probably hear this even more than I do, of people sort of being in your face about like, oh, it's just a coincidence, or you didn't really heal yourself, or what do you say to those people?
Well, first of all, the healing is always in process, right? So this whole thing is a practice. I've not made it to some sort of holy mountain or some sort of finish line. I still live with cancer, so It's a part of my life, and it keeps me in check in a lot of ways. But the truth is that our bodies are powerful beyond measure, beyond what any of us know to be true. And you know that you feel, like if you drink 5 cups of coffee, you're really anxious, you start to sweat, you can't really make clear decisions, you might get a migraine. All these things can take place. Same thing if you eat too much sugar. Let's say you sit down and you have this enormous meal at a fast food restaurant. You feel very heavy and lethargic afterwards. So we know that we can feel what food does to us, but we also know that we can test it, right? And for me, there's no doubt in my mind that what I'm doing is helping my overall well-being. And what I was doing before was also contributing to my illness.
Right.
And that's a personal opinion that I have for my specific journey. And I'm not certainly saying that, somebody else caused their disease or somebody else, created the chaos in their life. I'm not saying that. This isn't like some, screwed up version of The Secret here. What I am saying is that I participated in dis-ease, and now I am participating in wellness.
I like that. I'm going to have to remember that. Thank you.
And so that sort of basically ends the conversation because, what else could you say? Me taking care of myself makes me happy, it makes me healthy, it makes me spiritually wealthy, and nobody can take that away from you. Even a doctor who can say, you can do all this, but it's going to make no difference. Really? Guess what? You're wrong.
Yeah, you're absolutely wrong. I mean, that's one of the things that sort of started me on my path to studying holistic medicine was my doctor. I had mono. My doctor said, there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing. You're just going to have to be sick and wait. And I didn't end up learning how to fix myself at the time any quicker or better, but it just didn't sit right. I'm like, that just can't be true. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a way to be able to heal from something like any disease, but at the time mono. And, of course, I found out years later that my doctor was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me give out the call-in number again. That's 347-884-9533. It's 347-884-9533. Definitely call in to ask Kris some questions. And let's go into some of the other lifestyle changes that you made. I know you've made quite a few to help you have a healthier, happier life, and if you want to share those with my listeners.
Sure. I think, overall, we looked at the major overarching umbrella or theme in my life is about reducing stress. And sometimes I'm really good at that, and sometimes I'm not, because, again, this is a practice, and I'm a human being just like everybody else. But when we think about stress and we realize that cancer isn't the number 2 killer and heart disease isn't the number 1 killer, the number 1 killer is stress. The number 2 killer is stress. The number 3 killer is stress. And so whether it's what you're putting into your mouth, fast food, processed foods, everything that we just discussed, or what's coming out of your mouth, or the amount of emotional residue or spiritual unrest that you're experiencing, that all contributes to your well-being, and that all contributes to stress. So when I look at my life, I really just sort of dissect it and say, what's making me happy, what's harming me? Where am I tired? Where am I inspired? What do I need more of? What do I need less of? Are there things that I can take off my plate that will allow me to introduce self-care to my life and put that on my plate instead? And so it's just always sort of keeping yourself in check. For me, I need to sleep 8 hours a night, otherwise I don't function well. And we know that during, our sleep cycle is when we repair our bodies. That's when digestion should be done. We shouldn't be digesting. We shouldn't be eating really late at night and then digesting our food, because that's when our body takes time from digestion, which takes an enormous amount of energy, and then focuses on healing and repair. So that said, it's a great opportunity for somebody like me who has a health issue to really allow my body to do what it does naturally, innately, intuitively. So that's just one concrete example, and the other stuff is really managing managing stress that comes from emotions, and it comes from the enormous demands that my job has on me, and family stuff that goes on, which happens in everybody's family from time to time. Sometimes it's bliss, sometimes you have a little emotional hot pocket. And I think just overall being willing to look at the places in you that might have some darkness, that needs some light shined on it, so that you can move through that energy block. That's invaluable, and we can all do that. We just have to do it.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm definitely always encouraging my patients, and I can help them through this with what they might be holding on to from their past that's weighing them down, or any stress they're dealing with in the present moment, because it's so true that stressors and anxiety deplete you and weaken your immune system, and it's exhausting.
Sure is. Stress creates acid in the body, so if we're trying to balance our pH, then one of the things we have to look at are one of the things that cause us grief, sadness, stress, distress, unrest. Those are really valuable tips. And, I wasn't there a few years ago. I was really just about the diet. Like, your diet will heal you, forget about the rest. Even though I was writing about it and I had experienced a lot of emotional and mental shifts, I don't think I really truly got it. Because Crazy Sexy happened so fast in a lot of ways, I needed time to process.
Right.
I certainly didn't realize the success was going to come from it too. But now, more in my journey, I'm much more committed and deeply resonating with clearing that emotional debris and working on the places in my own being that need more love and need more nurturing and need more support and more forgiveness. Whereas in the beginning, I was just more like, live in the kitchen will heal you.
If it was only that easy.
If it was only that easy, exactly. Oh, yes.
So what is your daily routine to help deal with stress?
Well, the first thing that I do is I spend about an hour with myself. It's like a spiritual tune-up, and it's when I get to take inventory, and I do that every morning, and that always changes. It always usually revolves around journaling, but the parts that can change is whether I'm reading a book that really resonates with me, one of my spiritual books, or a guided meditation or a sitting meditation. But it's a time to connect, and when I do that on a regular basis, I really set my day up for success. And I also exercise. I'm not a big hardcore exerciser. I don't, pump it at the gym or, I don't know, exert myself too much, because it doesn't work on my life on a regular basis, because I get really inspired, but then I'll drop off, and then I'll be a little disappointed that I didn't stick with it the way I could have and all that nonsense. So what seems to work for me more is just a dedicated practice. That's a daily thing, whether it's some yoga or a hike or even just a walk in the woods to let myself unwind mentally. Some of my greatest ideas and thoughts of inspiration for a book or for a project come from my just woods walks. And I think what that comes down to is basically making sure that you're giving yourself time in the day. Time for you can drastically shift your overall well-being. So those are a couple of things that work for me.
Are you taking, I meant to ask you this before when we were, but are you taking any supplements?
Yeah, I do. I take what I call the foundationals for me. I used to take a lot of supplements, but the truth is that I would fall on and off and not really know if they were working and sort of get tired of spending a ton of money. And so now I just take the basics. I take probiotics. I take vitamin D. I take an omega. I take, what else do I take? I take chlorella. I take, and a few other goodies that are more specifically catered to my needs. I do take B12, but not too much.
Yeah.
Not too much. I just take what I think that
doable.
what's doable, what I need, and then I go get my, my levels checked once a year, twice a year with my integrative MD, and just make sure I'm on track, see how my adrenals are doing, what's up with my thyroid, make sure things are just balanced.
Right. And if you don't mind, can you share who your MD is? Because I like the idea of promoting someone who's open to how you're healing yourself.
Absolutely. There's a couple of people who I really like. The last person who I went and saw was at the Morrison Center in the city, and the doctor there is amazing, and his name is Jeff Morrison. And then there's somebody in Rhinebeck that I'm interested in seeing who's become a friend, but we haven't really been able to sync our schedules together. Ken Bach. There's also Frank Lippman in New York, who's wonderful. Alejandro Younger is a friend of mine who I haven't seen, but I've been able to email him or call him with questions like, okay, this is what's going on. You might want to check this. But all of these guys and these women, there are probably many, your listeners are from all over the country and the world probably. So they're all out there. Yeah. But it's just about asking the key questions that bring you to finding that perfect fit.
Right.
And making sure that the person that you're working with believes in nutrition, believes in energy, believes in supplementation, believes in the power of the patient as opposed to the power of the M deity.
I really like that, M deity.
Well, it's true, because a lot of times what happens is you walk in and they say, I'll give you everything, you'll be able to do nothing, but don't worry, I'll take care of it. And while that might seem like a knight in shining armor or the ultimate, Mac Daddy, what that really says is you're powerless.
Right.
I have all the power, you have none of it. Don't worry, just go back and do what you're doing. Well, guess what? What you were doing helped you get there. So is that really the best advice? I'd say N-O.
Yeah, definitely not. Have you been in touch with your original doctor who gave you diagnosis?
Well, I was diagnosed and then I went on the rounds of second and third opinions because I immediately made myself the CEO of my healing. Yeah. And the first hospital that I went to would have killed me. The second hospital that I went to would have killed me. First doctor that I spoke to said I should have a triple organ transplant. That would have killed me.
Oh, my God.
So I have all my organs. I love them all very much. They're fantastic. And then I also have a really unbelievable oncologist who is now my doctor, and we see each other once a year. I go and I get scanned, and then we usually go out to dinner and connect. So, yes, I still see him, and I still run things by him. And, in fact, I started teaching regularly lecturing at his class at Harvard as a result of our work together and as a result of him looking at everything that I've done in the world and saying, wow, I appreciate what you're doing. And I didn't necessarily agree with everything, especially in the beginning, but now I see it.
Right.
And so, last year he said, will you come and teach at my class at Harvard? And I was, yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so he said, well,
Harvard
they really
med students are learning about you?
Yeah,
I love
pre-med.
It.
And
awesome.
So it's nice.
I want to hear more about that, but we have someone calling in with a question.
Great.
Thanks for calling. Do you have a question for Kris?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was me. Sorry.
It's you.
Hi, Kris. Actually, I saw you when you came to Cleveland last October and spoke at the JD Breast Cancer Foundation at our, I'm not sure what you call it. But anyway, I saw you when you were there. And I've really been inspired by you listening. I read your books and everything. And my biggest problem is getting the motivation to really focus on my nutrition. I'm stage 4 breast cancer. I've been stage 4 for 7.5 years now. My body is starting to break down a bit from all the drugs and the chemo, and I know I really need to do this, but I can't mentally get myself there. And I was wondering if there's something that helps you do it, or I mean, I don't know. I can't figure out what the problem is at this point.
Well, you know what? This is what's coming to me, and it might not be right, but I'm going to just say what I think, and maybe we can work through this. What I hear in your voice is that you don't know if it's going to be worth your effort.
That's probably really good.
So, like, why should I bother? I don't know if it's probably not going to help. It's not worth it for me. It might be worth it for Kris, but it's not going to be worth it for me. And what I would imagine could help you is not necessarily forcing yourself to, I'm just going to bring up the motivation. I'm just going to, fake it till I make it. I'm just going to make this anyway, and I'm going to dread every minute of it because I don't want to clean my damn juicer. I don't want to eat, quinoa, But more about going into that place that is blocking the motivation. And I think, especially for cancer patients, and I can certainly say for myself, the place that blocked my motivation was this fear, a fear of I'm going to try, I'm going to fail, a fear of dying, a fear of it's too late for me, a fear of I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I think that's been my biggest problem lately is the fear aspect, which, what is there really to be afraid of? You're eating healthy, you're doing good for your body, but for some reason, I just can't get my head there. I mean, I have a juicer. I started juicing for a while, and I did feel better.
Yeah.
But it was a pain in the butt. It took like a half hour to juice. And when you're not feeling good from chemo, that half hour of juicing is a lot of work. But it's like, I know it'll be really worth it for me, though, to try it, because I need to lose weight because my cancer is estrogen receptive.
Okay.
And I know it'll help me. I know it's good for me. I know all this stuff. It's just, I don't know why I can't just do it.
Well, here's a couple of other things. First, I really want you to think about that place that keeps you from being motivated and realize that that's more of an emotional block that's based on things that have nothing to do with the juice.
Right.
And start to send some love to that place and start to create some affirmations around that place. That's something that you can really meditate on and start to change your mind about. The other thing is that the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? So I can make a juice in 15 minutes. I can sometimes make a juice in less time. I can take all the parts of the juicer and just put them in a big tub in my sink if I don't feel like cleaning it right away. And that way it doesn't get all crusty and stinky and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I can come back to it a little bit later when I have more time. And I don't know if there's people in your life that you can rely on or you can count on, but maybe there's some ways that people can step up to the plate and help you. I think a lot of times as people and as patients, we just are too shy to ask or we're just too prideful to ask. And there's a way for you to reach out and a way for people to give that it's mutually beneficial.
Well, my boyfriend's all for it. I mean, we even just talked about it because I'm coming off a chemo break and having to go back on chemo again, and it's just been a roller coaster the last couple of weeks for me. And he's like, you need to do it. You just need to do it. But he doesn't get it. But he's very supportive. So if I said, I need to go get all this stuff or whatever, he'll do it as long as I follow through because he knows that I'll do it for a week and then I'll get tired of it.
Well, I think that would be fabulous. Make a plan, seriously, make a calendar, make a game plan. The best thing that has helped me is just to sort of map out my point of attack.
That sounds good.
And that's how it works, you know what I mean? It's like maybe he can buy the veggies and clean them and just leave them in the refrigerator for you so you don't have to wash them. You just juice them. You drink your juice. If you're too tired, seriously, just throw out the compost part so it doesn't smell, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then leave your juice, the parts, in the sink with water. And it'll be very easy to clean later. So just finding ways for it to become more doable for you. And I think you go back to that meditation piece after we get off the phone and really sort of think about what is holding me back truly. Is it the fact that I'm lazy and unmotivated? No, what's holding me back, Julie, is that I feel scared. What am I scared of? I'm scared of this. Okay, well, guess what? You're not dying today.
Right.
You're living today. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing that cancer can give you is being a little bit more in the moment and realizing that, yes, the future is unknown. It's unknown for every single one of us, not just cancer patients.
Right.
So today, I'm alive. Today, I'm going to make a commitment to me. Today, I'm going to look fear in the face and say, guess what? You're giving me great messages and great opportunities, but I release you.
That sounds awesome.
So
okay.
I think I hope you stay in touch with me. You should send us an email at info@crazysexylife.com and let us know how you're doing, because I know that you're going to make some shifts if you just start to look inside and give yourself a little more love and a little more compassion.
Okay. I can do that.
Yay! Yay! I can do that.
Well, thank you so much for the
You're
info.
welcome,
I took notes, and I really need to do this. So I'm going to really put a strong effort forward.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to add something with the game plan that Kris recommended.
Sure.
Really sitting down with your boyfriend and your other support and making a calendar and putting it in your phone so alarms go off. Like, this is the time for me to meditate. This is the time that I'm going to juice. And make it simple, but make those commitments and have him do it with you, so the process will become second nature to you once you've been doing it for a little while. And that'll definitely help, like not just committing to it, but literally putting it in your calendar so it's there, and you're like, okay, this is it. This is the time that I'm going to juice. I'm going to drink more water, whatever it is that you need to do to take care of yourself.
Okay, yeah, I've been using my phone a lot more now that I got a new one for making notes and all that kind of stuff to keep reminding myself. So, yeah, that's a good idea, too.
Oh, good.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much.
You're very
Thanks
welcome.
for calling.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
You too. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was such a great question, because I hear that a lot from my cancer patients, but just people in general. Like, it's not really about the time it takes to do the juice. There's something else going on there. And I like how you got it out of her. It was smart and gentle.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's pretty universal, and each of us can look at our block and say, well, what's underneath it? What's really underneath it? That's what I need to address.
Oh, absolutely. There's always something to look at, and we can shift. And I really hope that woman takes your advice to heart. Sounds like she's ready. So callers, we only have about 10 more minutes. If you want to ask Kris a question, at 347-884-9533. It's 347-884-9533. And so you're doing so much now. How do you make sure that you have time for yourself?
By not having time for myself and seeing what that does. You know, again, it's a practice, and I definitely think of myself more as a guide, and certainly not a guru, because I fall into all of my own traps that I write about very easily. And but I know what happens when I don't take care of myself. So again, the morning is the most important time for me. I have created a life for myself where I am a little bit more in control, so I can, I don't go to a 9-to-5 job every day. I can start the day correctly for me. And also just how much time I'm willing to travel every month, and, sort of trying my best to make it all work, which is, I'm not going to say it's not a struggle, but it's a worthy struggle when it rolls in my favor.
And you know what, I meant to go back to, you were talking about that you lectured in front of some Harvard pre-med students, and what was their response to you?
It's interesting. It's, when I lecture to corporations or wellness centers or even hospitals, it's a very different experience because a lot of these people, they really need what you're saying, and they, some of them are desperate, or, they want the motivation and inspiration. And with students, it's very different because you have to get on their level. They're at the beginning of their lives. They sort of feel like nothing can stop them. And certainly at a place like Harvard, where it's so competitive, and these are really great kids. They've put a lot of time into their life so far, and they're going to put a lot of time in more, as they continue. It's just finding the words and the practices that ignite them. At first, it was cultivating the inner Harvard, and for me, I feel like I made some progress with them when I started to say, if you start to take better care of yourself and perhaps, implement some meditation practices, you're going to be more competitive with your grades and with you can retain, and you're going to have the competitive edge. Well, these kids lit up like Christmas trees, because that's what they're hungry for. That's what they want. And so that was a lot of fun teaching. I taught them mostly meditation practices. And it was very gratifying because if we can set our future leaders up, we can set our kids up, then we're really creating the shift that we so desperately need, especially at this point in our creation.
I'm just so happy to hear that Harvard brought you in to speak, because that means that future MDs and oncologists specifically are going to be hearing about you and your story.
Thanks. I was pretty psyched myself.
I almost a year ago I had on some oncologists that I work with, and we talked about prevention, and it was just so refreshing to hear prevention come out of their mouths, because it's something we don't hear enough of.
Yeah.
And it takes most people a crisis to make these changes, and for those of you listening who aren't dealing with a major health issue, like, this is the time to make these changes, so you don't have to go through a crisis.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think what our task is to make prevention a cool word. So prevention to me always sounded like that's for old people, that's for like geriatrics, that's when I need more frickin' fiber, ew. And the truth is that prevention is, I try and suggest people be like, prevention is hot cheerleaders, make prevention, make this lifestyle hip and fun and crazy sexy. And you start to realize that you're vibrating at a higher consciousness. You're the amount of energy that comes in and out of you at the level and at the sustainability that, you can provide is just remarkable. And so really taking that word and not making it some sort of doom and gloom thing, like, oh, I got to prevent this boogeyman from coming into my life. No.
Right.
I just got distracted because I saw the UPS truck, and I don't know if he wants to be on your radio show.
Well, he's more than welcome to say hi.
Hello, Mr. UPS man.
Well, I one thing that I know it would be great to change people's perception of prevention, but also this seems to motivate people, is it saves you money.
Absolutely.
And,
good point.
Since a lot of people are very stressed about their finances right now, if nothing else, it'll save you money. Yes, eating at McDonald's is cheaper right now than getting organic produce from your farmer's market, but long term, you're not going to miss work, you're not going to have medical bills, and when I'm in a more harsh-spoken mood, I'll say to people, well, cancer is really expensive.
Well, yeah, sickness is a big business, and
yeah.
What you could do to stay well is you will save money, and sort of what I totally agree with you, and such a great point. And another place that I've seen a big change is, I spend more money on my produce, but I don't buy all organic. I do the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, and I buy organic within my budget, but I stay away from the most highly sprayed things.
Right.
But also when you think about it, it's like I've reallocated so many funds because I used to have so many over-the-counter drugs and medications, and my medicine cabinet was totally full. And now it's empty, and now what's full is my CRISPR. You know, so that kind of stuff really does change. And also, there's so many places where we can cut back, you know. I don't know if you're like me, but I love Target. And every time I go to Target, it's so easy for me to drop $100. And I'll be like, okay, I just got People magazine. I just bought all of these things that I don't necessarily need in my life. Not that I don't like People magazine, I really do. But you know, you can tighten your belt in some places in order to increase your longevity in others.
Yeah, like a Starbucks every day. How much is a latte now at Starbucks? Like $4 or $5. I mean,
right.
that adds up.
It totally adds up.
Really
and as we learned earlier, coffee is acidic, right? It's highly acidic, actually.
Yeah.
And so that's like robbing from your energy bank account and robbing from your physical bank account. And if, you know, but I don't know if you're like me, but see, if I say I can't have this thing, like if I say I can never have another Starbucks ever again, then more than likely I'm going to really want Starbucks, right? So it doesn't mean you can't have it from time to time. It's just you just don't want to make these things a habit.
Absolutely. You know what? We have another caller with a question. Thanks for calling in. You want to talk to Kris?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, my name's Grace. I'm calling from the UK.
Thanks for calling, Grace.
Hello. I'm wondering if you have any tips or advice about energy levels.
About energy levels?
Yeah.
So do you have, I'm sorry because I'm having a hard time hearing you, so you'll just have to forgive me if I ask you questions so I make sure I understand what you're saying. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for, or what's going on.
Well, I have ME and fibromyalgia.
Okay.
So both of those have fatigue in them. And also a few other conditions, and osteoporosis as well. I'm 23. So I'm doing a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, and it has helped amazingly.
Great.
I'm doing a lot, about 2 years ago, I was bedbound, and I couldn't sit up or swallow, or really speak or do very much at all. I was very, very sick. So we're really, really happy, but it's quite hard because I'm very, 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 very fatigued a lot of the time and in quite a lot of pain. So I really want to do a lot of practices, but everything is very, very big struggle. And I'm lucky because my husband cares for me full time and he helps amazingly. But if there's anything else that you know that we could do, it would be wonderful.
Have you? Okay, so you've changed your diet, and are you eating more of an alkaline diet? Are you focusing on the pH of your body?
Yep, we're vegan and we eat all organic. And,
okay. And have you reduced the amount of sugar that you consume?
We don't have any. We just occasionally have apples and juice.
Okay. And so, how about any sort of body work? Have you done any Reiki? Have you done any? What kind of body work or energy work have you done?
We do Reiki. But,
you do Reiki?
Have homeopathy and osteopathy. But yeah, that's about it.
I bet Heather can weigh in on a lot of things here. I'm going to bring up one thing that's helped me recently, and I don't know what this would be like for you, but have you ever heard of anything called emotional freedom technique?
I don't think so.
So if you Google emotional freedom technique or EFT, you can learn a practice that's really easy. It's almost like, from what I've been understanding, and I'm new to this practice, it's like a psychological, emotional acupressure. And what I've seen people do, I've seen people use it for pain management. And it's basically tapping. You're tapping on acupressure points, and you're using affirmation and intention. And it's a lot of people use it for post-traumatic stress disorder. People use it for pain management. People use it for phobias, fears, anxiety. What I like about it is it's very simple to learn. Anybody can do it. You can do it at home. And it might be able to alleviate some of the pain that you're experiencing that keeps you from, just keeps you in the place that I can hear. I can hear what's happening in your voice. And, I understand needing more energy so that you can make the good food and have the juices and whatnot. So that might be something you want to look into. And so, Heather, what do you think?
I think EFT would be great for you, Grace, and we only have about 2 minutes left of the show, so if you haven't, have you gone to an acupuncturist or herbalist yet to help you with this?
No, I do see a homeopath.
Okay,
I've
would.
been for about 6 years, and he's wonderful.
Oh, good, because especially managing the pain and getting your energies up, I would look into that because I know I've seen it firsthand how much acupuncture and Chinese herbs can help you. So ask your friends, your family, neighbors who they recommend for you, and give it a try. I mean, it can work wonders for you. But EFT is a great idea, and then since we're out of time, maybe you could contact Kris and I after the show with any further questions. I hate to cut you short, but we're gonna get shut down in a sec.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Does that help, Grace?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling, Grace. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, EFT is a wonderful technique. I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you like it, too, because I'm new to it, and I'm falling deeply and madly and passionately in love with it.
Oh, good. Since we have to say goodbye, I feel like I could talk to you for another 10 hours. We'll have to do another show in the future for sure. If you want to give out any contact information, your website, before we say goodbye.
Great. So, yeah, you can contact me at crazysexylife.com, and all of the information is there, as well as an army of wonderful writers and bloggers and a great social network. And if you want to learn more about my work, you can also go to crazysexycancer.com. You can find the books and the film, and I'm just wishing you lots of love and peace and light on your healing journey.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much for coming on today, Kris, and thank you for all that you do.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. So that was Kris Carr, and thank you so much for coming on today, Kris. For those of you listening who might have questions for me or would like some help on your healing journey, please be in touch with me either through my office at 310-259-5165 or info@getnaturalgetwell.com. I would love to help you in your healing journey and experience. I can help you with the nutritional aspect, emotional aspect, and much, much more. Really quickly, next week I'm having on 3 vegan superheroes: Whitney Lauritsen of Eco Vegan Gal, Robert Cheek, a vegan bodybuilder, and Tim Van Orden, a raw marathon runner. Since we're running out of time, that'll be it for today, but thank you so much for listening, and be happy, be healthy, and be gentle with yourself. Take care.